Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormy B Man. This is number 62 in our series of Nerds shows for this Monday, October 30th, 2023. And this is a show where we're just going to kind of have a open discussion. We're going to talk about some of the things that make this show possible and what we enjoy about doing this particular show. There's so many things that help bring this show together, and even in the midst of taking in things personally, I realized that, there is a yearning for this. We have to reach back and grab one another and enjoy this because there's a lot of stresses in our lives and we face things on a day in and day out basis. But this show is geared toward the inner nerd in us all. And some of us have that we nerd out on specifically, whether it's something of technical or something of media or collector or whatever. And we're here to help continue to promote the ideal that, hey, that's fine. It's nothing wrong with being able to nerd out because let me tell you, a lot of us, before we started doing this show, we found that through certain subjects and content that we've covered up to this point, we all share some kind of piece of that. And so that's what makes us do it. That's why we are here. And once again, this evening, we're back to bring more of the same to you. So, with no further ado, I like to bring my brother Drew Titan in the building with me, my partner in crime on this show. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Blessed and highly favored. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Salute to
And
the chat. Salute to the chat.
yeah, salute to everybody that's out there. We have, what's interesting is when we do these shows, sometimes we'll have a particular thing that we're gonna cover, and then that leads us to start talking about other stuff.
Yes.
You know, I was listening to the playback of when we were talking about our family situations, like when we were talking about the hot water bottle. And and then I was telling about my shaving experience, as that, and listening to that playback, man, I laughed so heartily, man. It was and that wasn't even what the show was about, but if you had tuned in at that point in time, you would have just found yourself in a moment of hysterical
Yep.
explanations of one's life. And I'm sure others that were out there listening when we were live that night, that, they probably had similar experiences. But that's what makes this show, though. It was fun.
Yeah. Like we always say, this show, it's about kicking your feet up. You go ahead and read that super chat real quick.
Yeah, salute to the brother. Von D Gaming out there in the super chat. He says, salute, Sensei. Salute right back at you. We appreciate you, man, coming in early with the super chat donation. Salute to
Salute
Von
to you,
D.
man. Salute. Um, what this show is about is really, just kick your feet up. Imagine you just go to a get together, a cookout, a dinner, and then you sit down with the people and y'all just start talking about just movies, video games, comic books, and a point in life, like instrumental years, regardless of how old you are, 65, 1968, 1970. What do you remember for those years? And for the younger cats, this is the time that so younger cats, you were like, how did y'all exist with no internet? Well, we can tell you. We can tell you some things. We had an imagination. I believe our generation is the creative generation. We're the most creative
Definitely.
because we had to. Do you understand playing with toys as a child? is instrumental in your development, your imagination. You create things in your mind as a child. And those children, you know, some of them grow up to be doctors, lawyers, and creators. George Lucas wasn't born an adult. He had an idea. All these things that we take advantage of on a daily basis, it came from someone's brain. Do you understand we're living in an era right now? Go back and watch the original Star Trek from the 60s. And you look at those things now, and outside of spaceships flying in space, you're like, we use that now. Use that right now. You remember the Kirk out? That was a flip phone, man.
Yeah.
And now flip phones are outdated. Now in the Star Trek Next Generation, they were pressing their buttons on their shirt. Picard out. That's a Bluetooth.
Yep.
You understand? So it's like if you had a crystal ball, and didn't the year 2023 seem so, it seemed like you'll never get there when it's 1970, 75. You're thinking cars are going to be flying, but you know what? We're not that far off. Did you see that jetpack that the military has?
Mm-hmm.
And they're flying over water and stuff. It's like we're here, and it's only getting better. So when we do shows like this, it's about having those basic conversations to kick your feet up. Because to be honest, boxing sucks right now. We had a good year, but there's still things that are not perfect. And we talk about certain things, but we don't want to talk about certain other things. And the things that really excite us don't move the needle, because the casuals, it's like the inmates are running the asylum. So when we don't want to deal with it, we come here on Mondays and we kick our feet up and we reminisce on the good old days, the good times. So that's pretty much what this atmosphere is about. I really have fun here. I really do.
Yeah. And sometimes people try to get overly creative with what we enjoy and what they think that people may want. And where I'm going with that is, one of the things we've covered a lot on this particular show is like the DC film universe and the Marvel film universe, and how they've done some positive things and they've done a lot of negative things. And it seems like Marvel now has gone the way of DC and making these horrible decisions going forward. It's almost like they're kind of smelling themselves to the degree that they think that anything will stick, but they're going to learn the hard way that it's just not, source material is there for a reason, and that's what people love and they think of fondly. DC has shot itself in the foot so many times that they're just kind of like all over the place. They just don't, they put projects out and they try to pretend like they're good with it, but box office failures and losing a lot of money here and there is really sickening, especially if you happen to be that staunch DC fan or supporter that you want so badly for things to be a certain kind of way, and they just not listening to the fan base. Marvel is doing it now in this, going into this phase 5. Phase 4 was horrible, but it's still looking like phase 5 is going to experience a lot of bad things. I'm hearing now that the Fantastic Four project, whenever the actors strike is over with and everything, if that thing gets off the ground, I'm probably not even gonna. I'm probably done with Marvel. I'm probably done.
What's the latest with the Fantastic Four thing?
Okay, they pretty much have the actors and actresses that they want to play in these roles for this coming up, but they decided that the film is going to be centered around Sue Storm.
Forget it. I don't say no more.
Now you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay. It's going to be centered around Sue Storm, meaning that the actress that they cast, everybody's going to have to be able to, have some type of chemistry with her, feed off of her, whatever. One of the guys that they've brought back into consideration for Reed Richards happens to be a guy who is an Eastern nationality guy. Reed Richards. Yeah. He has like a Hindu name. I'm forgive me, I don't have his name written down in front of me right now, but they're trying to get this guy to be Reed Richards. I've heard that they're going to do possible another ethnic switch with Ben Grimm and everything, and possibly Johnny Storm as well. Listen, and lastly, this is the latest. Now, this was just from a few days ago. Galactus, who will be a part of the story, they want Antonio Banderas. Allegedly, before the actor strike took place, they were looking to offer Antonio Banderas the role of Galactus, but his herald, the Silver Surfer, they want her to be a female.
All right.
Come on, man. They're doing too much, aren't they?
Right.
I mean, just seriously. Right. Everything that and remember, they may not do all of this, but these are the things that are on the table, what they're talking about and everything.
There is a herald of Galactus that was a female. Her name was Nova. I think her name was Nova, and she was like all silver with fire hair. Just do that. Don't make the Silver Surfer a woman. Just do that. And I think she died in the comics. But this woke is ruining shit. But you know what? It's making a turn, but not fast enough, because look, they did a plus size, I don't know if you saw it, but it was a plus size, what was it? Victoria's Secret line.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And they lost money. They lost millions. And it was nothing, no one protested or nothing, because you can't protest anything woke, because that'll be the India. But they said we have to discontinue the line because it wasn't selling.
What about the Budweiser thing that they did? That right there. Now, Budweiser had always been, since I was a little boy, you know what I mean, a major sponsor of sporting events and things of that nature. You remember the Clydesdales, you know, that would come out to the song, the jingle.
Yep.
Dude, they have gone so far in a bad direction with this foolishness that it's like it's really ruining culture. It really is. And what's interesting is, in real life, we're hearing that the U.S. government may be, starting up the draft again and making some changes by drafting women, and now they want to complain.
Now they want to complain.
Now they want to complain. Now they want to say, "Oh,
we ain't mean that."
Exactly. But see, this is where you've pushed things to. You've pushed these things over the edge, and now it is what it is.
Get what you asked for.
It's like, and listen,
I'm
Marvel doing that stupid stuff. It's like, and where's Blade? They hired Mahershala Ali like 6 years ago,
and damn, it's been that long.
Yeah.
Oh man,
count back when Endgame came out.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, dude. Time waits for no one. And Mahershala Ali, the movie has been through several rewrites and everything. How tough is it to get Blade right? They didn't even have to go with Mahershala Ali. They could have still went with Wesley.
He's still there.
They're trying this stuff. Who asked for She-Hulk? Who? Now think about this. I'm going to point it out to you about Marvel. In phase 4, you had WandaVision on Disney Plus, right? You had the Marvels. You had Hawkeye, which was featuring the young lady.
The young lady.
You had a spinoff that's coming off of that that's going to be Echo. That's the young girl that Kingpin had, working with him. Now, there was supposed to be Ironheart.
Yep.
They delayed that. There was supposed to be a spinoff on Black Panther about Wakanda and the Dora Milaje. I mean, come on. You can't see what they're doing. The Marvels, they even skipped giving Captain Marvel her second film and made it the Marvels, where they got all these female characters in there. I'm not saying that the female characters shouldn't exist, because they do. But when you have taken you basically you've taken Iron Man away, you've taken Cap away, you took Black Widow away. I mean, what
I'm gonna sneak this one in on you too. The black female heroes from Wakanda just so happen to be gay.
Yeah.
It just so happened. It just so happened to be gay. I mean, who's paying attention, right?
And I mean, remember what they did with Thor: Love and Thunder. Look at Lady Thor. I mean, She-Hulk. I continue to say, who asked for that? Nobody.
That series has no replay value.
And absolutely none. And then when they come back and Bruce Banner, they didn't take time out to say how he healed or whatever. But then he shows up late in the show with a son. How that happen? When did the Hulk have time to get his rocks off? Huh? I mean, seriously. And I say it jokingly, but I'm like,
and how old was that kid?
He looked like he was a teenager.
He just shows up.
This is my son, everybody.
And then the series ends like that. It's like, what are you talking about? What?
We never saw Beta Ray Bill. We never saw certain storylines and elements get handled properly.
If they make the Fantastic Four the goddamn United Nations, that's the third strike with the Fantastic Four franchise. I have no faith. The Fantastic Four had the potential to be a very dope, film. And they've systematically goofed it up. Somebody block Kai. What the fuck is that? What are you talking about? Somebody block that guy. What the hell is that? What are you talking about, dude? Jesus Christ. I'm already in a funk about Marvel. What are you talking about? Get out of here.
I've already handled it, chat. So please don't nobody else go back and do nothing like timeout, because Stormy don't do timeouts. I put him the hell out. It's off with the head around here, these parts. Person couldn't wait to come in here with foolishness. You see what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. But anyway.
He's done.
And then when we flip over to the DC side, James Gunn, with what he's trying to do over there, everything's got to be a joke. There's a channel that I'll plug here, Aaron Fisher, Aaron's Reviews. That guy, he's a DC guy. straight up. He gives you straight information. As when he finds stuff, he'll let you know certain things are rumored, certain things are really happening. He updates several times a week. But this is the thing that I learned from him about James Gunn, and he's 100% correct. They put James Gunn in as a CEO over there in a sort of like a Kevin Feige position, but he doesn't know how to develop the stories of individual characters. He likes ensemble pieces. He likes to bring multiple people in. Even if it's your movie, you got to have a cast of others in there with you.
Yeah.
And since he took over, you can see it. It's readily apparent. That's why his Guardians of the Galaxy was successful, because he's good at doing the multiple characters. But I think he's got some kind of like television background and stuff with that. So dealing with ensemble characters but everything doesn't need to be an ensemble piece. This is one of the reasons why the Flash movie, it had Batman in it, it had Superman in it, then they switched to Supergirl, then they had another character, Wonder Woman, and it's like, what are you doing? It don't need. And because the universes are connected doesn't mean that everybody got to appear in each movie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's like, and remember, he did the Peacemaker crap, you know, and Suicide Squad. And, you know, not the original Suicide Squad that had Will Smith in there, but this second one that had this mangy character in there. I forget what his name was and stuff. He likes to do that weird stuff, and it's like, man, that walk on the wild side. And here we had Zack Snyder, who had a vision of what he was trying to do, and people complained about that. But Zack, if you look back on what Zack was able to complete, he only completed 3 films. But it was solid, and it was so different from what Marvel was doing. It stood out as such. He wasn't going for the comedy. He wasn't going for, you know, silliness and stuff like that. He was like, and I'm telling you, his design for Darkseid was awesome.
Yeah.
Darkseid looked better than Thanos. And that's my personal thought. But it's like the way he was going. I mean, you could see what he was trying to do. It was going to go somewhere. It was going to go somewhere. But those people, they didn't even want Henry Cavill to be Superman anymore. And then you look at Henry Cavill, even if he's not freaking playing Superman, it's like, that dude look like Superman.
Like Superman. He was supposed to be this era's Christopher Reeves. How do you blow that? How do you blow that? There's a lot of ego involved in all of this stuff. There has to be. And when the ego is involved, they're not doing it for the greater good. The greater good are the people like us that are spending the money. The greater good are the people like us that grew up watching this stuff and we support it. And they're not paying us any mind. They're doing it, and ego's involved, and they're doing what's best for them, because they're going to get their money, but they're not. No, they're not. I take that back. If they screw this up, they're not going to get a return on their investment, because they're losing me as a consumer. And this is ridiculous. I promise you, all of this, and this if y'all just not getting here, this woke stuff is going to be the end all of this stuff. Stop ruining our childhood. To bring the conversation back, the Fantastic Four are 4 white people. That's it. Leave it alone. I'm not mad. You don't have to make Johnny Storm black. You don't have to make Reed Richards a Hindu. I was confused when I saw Flash Thompson as an Indian dude. I was like, what the fuck?
In the Spider-Man films, yeah.
You know, my father saw that. He said, wait, that's Flash Thompson? I was like, Dad, listen. He said, man, you know, this is what they do now. Do you know how instrumental Flash Thompson was in Peter Parker's life? They downplayed the character. You don't make what Indian dude you know named Flash Thompson? Maybe a
And
guy that calls you tries to sell you something over the
and
phone.
they tried to sneak Mary Jane in on us with Zendaya, right? But
Yeah.
they wasn't calling her Mary Jane at
Or
first.
the
But that's
MJ.
who she was the whole time. That's who she was the whole time. And they changed the ethnicity of MJ. I mean, come on. MJ, if I remember correctly, because you can correct me on this, MJ is a redhead
Yep.
and she was a sexy woman
Yep.
and everything, Caucasian,
Yep.
and you know, like the hottest of the hottest. And she had a thing for Peter, and Peter was way out of her league. You know what I'm saying? So if I remember correctly, that's what that was. And it's like, and I'm not trying to say Zendaya wasn't an attractive young lady or anything. Yeah, T Berry,
Yep.
Zendaya is MJ. Yes,
She's
she is.
that was supposed to be Mary Jane.
They
That was
just tried through 3 films to not say it, you
yeah.
know, because they knew, like, when they made The Little Mermaid, and when they brought it out and you saw who the Little Mermaid was, you saw the backlash on that, right? So Marvel thought they were being slick by not saying that's Mary Jane Watson. They just called it MJ whatever, and you know, she was kind of weird and this and that, and she liked Peter. Okay, that's cool, well, you know, but as long as she ain't MJ Watson, right? Well, she was.
That's who she was.
That's who she was.
Now,
And see, they didn't have to do that. They didn't. And it's almost like somebody has a like a nefarious fetish for stamping on these characters and everything. Like, look, I'm gonna screw this up and make the world mad at me. Whoever's making these decisions, because that Fantastic Four film that was made a few years ago, where they had Michael B. Jordan in as Johnny Storm and everything, that film right there, bro, it's like that guy. He made that other film. What's that film called that he made with the superhero kids, the teenagers?
oh, you talking about
Chronicle.
Chronicle.
Yeah. Chronicle was
That was a good film. That was a good film.
Great film in its own right of what he made. But why would you come over to the Fantastic Four and try to turn that into Chronicle? Why? The Fantastic Four has over 70 years of material, and you just crap on it like
Trying
that.
to reinvent the wheel.
It's
It was
like, man, it's an
it was
insult, you know?
it is. It is.
And check this out. Like, okay, before we went live, we were talking about my little backdrop here where we got Batman there. That's from Batman versus Superman. And when Zack Snyder did Batman versus Superman, I remember sitting in the theater watching the film first go round, and how they introduced Batman in the movie. Remember, he was like in that warehouse, or what, not the warehouse, but he was in that building where those girls were taken hostage and stuff, and that creepy guy that he was in there. And they showed him like slithering along the roof of the ceiling and all of that. It was like they made him kind of like, you know, he was dark, and it was cool. Now, Christopher Nolan's Batman, yeah, that was nice how it was done. But this was kind of like that graphic novel Batman, The Dark Knight, the real Dark Knight from the comics. But what I noticed that Zack Snyder had done with that is, as I'm sitting there watching the movie in the theater, I said to myself, I remember actually saying this. I said, Zack Snyder must have always wanted to make a Batman movie, because I'm watching a Batman movie, even though Superman is in it, but it's a Batman movie. But it wasn't bad. It was like, and Ben Affleck's Batman, dude, he was scary. And the warehouse scene is probably one of the best comic book movie scenes ever. When he went in there to save Martha.
That was awesome.
Dude, That, and remember the guy, see, we talk about heroes getting their get back. In that scene, he's fighting. The guy tries to shoot him up close, and it bounced the bullet, but because it's Kevlar, whatever he got on. But then a dude stabs him in the shoulder, and Batman goes, ah. Well, he didn't forget that dude. He beat up everybody, and he saved that dude for last.
For last, yep.
And then he had him up against that wall, and he walked up to him, and he was like, just as he got ready to do what he did, they cut away to something else. Batman.
That was a vindictive part, man. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
That was Batman. And I was like, and there was some people who had seen the movie, and because they still had Christopher Nolan's Batman in their mind and everything, they were like, oh, Batman doesn't kill people. Batman is too violent and this and that. They were hating on it because it was a comic come to life take on the Dark Knight. If you have read the graphic novels, you'll know that Bruce Wayne was dangerous. He was not a nice dude. Huh? And Ben Affleck's Batman was not a nice dude. Remember him having that argument with Alfred about Superman? And he was saying, look, if it's just a 10th of a chance that this guy, if we're right about this, he's like, what, we can't let him roam around here and take us all out. Batman was vengeful.
Yep.
But that edge was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? You need somebody like that. So by the time, if they had let Zack Snyder finish what he was doing, Batman comes around, becomes, a part of everything else with the Justice League and all of that. And from what I understand, he was supposed to eventually sacrifice himself. So it's like, that's good storytelling. Very good storytelling. But the people, they weren't ready for that. That's just like they weren't ready for the darker Superman, Man of Steel. When I saw that in the theater and he saved those people from Zod by killing Zod. And then he screamed, ah! And then Lois came over there. When I saw that in the theater, you know what I said? In the comics, Superman has this thing about killing, right? And they've never really said in the comics why he has this thing about killing. But when I saw Man of Steel, I said to myself, Zack Snyder just put it on screen. Why Superman has made a vow to not kill. Because what he ended up doing was he killed, outside of himself, the only surviving person from Krypton, his home planet. And that had to hurt. Because remember, his dad put the codex inside of him. So his murder of Zod was a double entendre. It's like, and Zod was created to protect Krypton, and he had to kill him to save these people. But these people are now his people, Earthlings. So it made sense. You know what I mean? But again, these dumb cuffs out here watching, oh, Superman doesn't kill, the next snap. That's what they kept saying. But the thing was, there was a symmetry and there was a cadence of how things were going to play out. And by the time that they got to the Man of Steel 2, it was going to be the Superman that we know him to be, like the jolly guy, this and that. But he had to go through these other circumstances to get to that point. But they pulled the carpet out from under his feet. Imagine if Kevin Feige didn't go through with the Avengers film, just because Captain America didn't make as much money as Iron Man, or Thor didn't make as much money as Captain America or whatever. Imagine if he had just pulled the plug and said, well, we're going to do something else because that didn't work.
I don't know what we're going to do as far as getting what we want. I'm sorry, Stormy. We gotta, I gotta make sure that these trolls are getting properly reported. They're in here heavy tonight. We decided to do noise on culture, and they're in here heavy tonight. Somebody's in. You already know how
You
I
know
got.
what to do. You know what
Yeah,
to do. Just I was
you already.
talking, so I wasn't even looking at the chat, but at the same time, we do
Yeah,
what we got to do.
the same fella came in here 4 times. Matter of fact, this is YouTube right now. That's okay. This dude has like 5. No, he got like 7 ghost accounts. It's the same person,
Of course it
and
is.
it's unfortunate.
Let's not even mention them anymore. Let's
Yeah.
just block them and keep it moving.
Anyway, no, Mr. Shelton, don't even worry about it. I took care of it. It's taken care of. So anyway,
Now, Mr. Shelton, what you guys can do, for future reference, and I heard BFTB talk about this earlier in his stream. Report, because that's spamming and and everything. Because we're on something totally, and the person is coming in and
they obviously didn't read the new rules and regulations, and as far as spamming is concerned, and YouTube knows what they're doing. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of movement behind the scenes. People getting demonetized. That Cynthia G situation there's a trickle down effect, because what's happening now is they took her down, but then there's people talking about, well, what about this person, that person, this person, that person, and they're cracking down on these big channels with ghost accounts, and you'll be guilty by association. So all of this name dropping that they're doing, I'm just letting the chips fall where they are at this point. But get the Tensei's views up though. Hit the dislike button.
yeah,
Do that.
and
Do that.
Mr. Shelton's asking, what do we report under? You can report under unwanted commercial content or spam. You can report under harassment or bullying or misinformation.
It's
You
your
know what I
choice.
mean?
It's your choice, and
You have a
explain
choice.
it, and drop those links, and say that these are ghost accounts to a bigger channel, because those these new policies that we signed a few months ago, these rules and regulations changes, all of that stuff covers it. So when your favorite channel that you like to mention, when they get demonetized, or you just don't see them anymore, in YouTube, they don't talk to you. Your things are just gonna be. I ain't gonna talk about it. Let's talk about something else.
Yes, sir.
You know what I wanted to see a sequel of? And I don't think we're gonna, because it was one of those movies that it left us hanging to fill in the dots. And Mr. Shelton brought it up earlier. What was that movie? Blacklight. Mr. Shelton, what was that? What was it? Blacklight. The kid, he was the alien, and it's the evil Superman. And did you ever watch that, Stormy?
No, I haven't seen that.
Blacklight.
Heard of
What's the name of the movie again? And
Blackburn.
Brightburn. You never saw that?
No.
Watch it. It's rough. It's rough because it gets very morbid. It basically, what it is what if Superman crashed, and then as he's grown up, he realizes, I could do what I want. I'm bulletproof, and he just actually starts acting like a kid with no real, not obeying any real instruction. And he crashes on the planet, and the lady says, oh, it's a little boy, we can take care of the boy. And the whole time the father's on the fence like, yo, I don't know about this. And there's these symbols on his ship or whatever, and they hid the ship in the in like the barn or something. And as he gets older, you know, he starts realizing I'm stronger than everybody. And then he finds out he could fly. And then he makes a mask and he's flying around town doing like mischievous stuff. But they find out that the material that the ship was made out of can hurt him. So what happened? What I'm kind of giving away the movie.
No, don't give it away.
Yeah.
But,
So
yeah, check
you
it
could
out.
you got to be able to find it like on like Netflix or something. Brightburn. It's a very by James Gunn. It's a very good movie. And then you find out something at the end. Like this guy is like he's like an Alex Jones guy.
Yeah.
And he's like at the end, he's like, I told you
don't
there's
tell
something.
no more. Don't tell no more. Don't tell no more.
But
I'm gonna
watch it, and we could do a whole show on it. It's a great film. It's morbid because it gets rough. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, Mr. Shelton, it's a horror movie. It's a horror movie. It is a horror movie. Because you're like, yo, what the hell?
Well, I noticed that in these last few years, since the Avengers film came out, that these streaming services have done their versions of superheroes and have made them like anti-heroes and made them kind of like evil dudes and stuff. And I noticed that they did that, and that's become kind of popular. But if the studios don't want to get the source material correct on what's already established, it's a shame, because it's just like, look at what Sony is doing with Spider-Man. They got the Spider-Man that's shared with the MCU, and they've got Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, that when they came back in that third Spider-Man film under the MCU, people welcomed them back like, oh, it's great to see Tobey back. It's great to see Andrew back. And look at what Sony has done. Nothing with that lifeline. You know, you could have 3 Spider-Man series going on with all of these guys playing Spider-Man, and they haven't done anything with any of it. And it just goes to show that the creative process through these studio executives and everything is minimum. Listen, Andrew Garfield could play Spider-Man in a different universe.
Yeah.
He's younger than Tobey, older than Tom, and Tobey can play an older Spider-Man, Peter Parker, in yet another universe.
Right.
And you could have him facing off against certain types of villains from the Spider-Man catalog.
Yeah.
What is so difficult about being creative? You've already allowed them to cross through one another's universe, where they crossed over into the MCU, the 616. So they could come back, but still be, you know, come back chasing a villain who escaped to the 616 or whatever. It's like, how is it difficult to do these things? I don't know.
There was something said in the crossover when Garfield was talking to Tobey. He said, you know, I went real dark, and I went to a dark place, but I had to, you know, come out of it. In that story, I took that as there was a point after Gwen. Remember, he couldn't save Gwen, which is actually from the comic book, when he couldn't save Gwen.
Right.
There's a portion where, and he disappeared for a little while. He didn't come back until he fought the Rhino. But when he said he got real dark, that means he went on I don't give a F, you know, portion of Spider-Man. I want to see what that was like for him. And I don't give a F moment. Like a more hardcore, you know, relentless Spider-Man. You know, maybe the symbiote goes into the to Garfield's universe and he becomes that version of Venom over there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of directions that they can go, but they're not quenching the thirst of the people who are fans of the comic books and actually want to see these things. There's so many directions in which they can go, and they're just not doing it. They're not taking us into consideration. They're doing what they want to do. They're putting dumpling gods in Thor naked and jokes about orgies and things of that nature. You're taking characters and switching ethnicities and making people gay and lesbian. It's just ridiculous all over the place. And it's like they don't care. They're doing what they want to do. And what they're doing is they're disrespecting the audience. And once they lose a ton of money in the next 3 years, they're just going to stop doing it. And one half of the people are going to be wondering, well, what happened to the DC universe, MCU? The people just lost interest. It's not that. You made us lose interest with horrible writing and
horrible decision making.
Horrible decision making.
Like one of the things that I'm never, ever, 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 is that enough evers? I'm never going to forgive them for not recasting T'Challa. I'm not gonna, because T'Challa is too important a character to have written him off as having died just because the first actor to play him in live action passed away. That is not what you do. If Robert Downey Jr. passed away after doing the first Iron Man movie due to a drug overdose or something, because he was in a very
that was
dark
possible.
place,
that was actually
very possible. They would have recast. And in fact, from what I understand, the guy that played Hammer, Justin Hammer, I forget his name right now. That actor, he was supposed to be hired under the umbrella in case Robert didn't work out. Not the fact that they didn't complete the film, because they completed the film. But when they were going into Iron Man 2, that actor that played Justin Hammer, he was there in case Robert fell off the wagon again or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But
talking about second chances, man. And you know, now we're playing with, I know you watched the Loki series. We're playing with endless amounts of universes. There's no way you can't bring T'Challa back. Just bring him back, for Pete's sake. Bring him back.
I told you guys, for those of you who are out there in the chat, I said this before. I said it to Drew on this show and talked about it, and even when I was doing my review of Black Adam, I talked about Aldous Hodge being the perfect replacement for Chad Boseman to play Black Panther. He has the right age, he has the right look, he has the acting ability, he's in shape, and he would have been a perfect transition, a believable, just like when they went from Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle to change Rhodey. That's two different looking guys and everything. But Aldous Hodge could have perfectly just replaced T'Challa. He could have, Chad Boseman as T'Challa.
And look, the storyline is so easy to add. If you watch the Loki series, all of those lines you see going through that machine, those are universes. And a bunch of them are gone, like they're erased. When the series is over, they can have a couple of people pop up in the TVA. They say, well, who are you? Well, I got out. My universe is gone. My universe is gone, and I'm the only survivor. Well, what's your name? T'Challa. And he's the only survivor. Send his ass to 616. Boom, there it is. It's an easy fix. When you're playing with dimensions and stuff, it's easy to fix it.
Listen, I hadn't even seen Aldous Hodge. I know he's been around for a little bit and making different things, but I hadn't even seen him until I watched Regina King's One Night in Miami, where he was playing Jim Brown and her little story about Ali, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and Sam Cooke. And when I was watching it, that's what I saw. I was like, this dude can play the Black Panther. And he was playing Jim Brown in that. If you guys haven't saw One Night in Miami, I think it's on Netflix, or it was on Netflix, but Regina King directed that. Regina King from 227. I was like, holy smokes, this is him right here. Now, I'm not a casting agent or whatever, but nobody could see that. If you put him and Chad Boseman side by side, there is enough of a charismatic aura about the two men that if he's playing this guy, it's acceptable. Because you're not going too far to the left or too far to the right. You're staying within that same element of charisma, acting chops, youthfulness, intelligence, whatever, all of that stuff that it would take to make that character up.
He fumbled the ball, man.
I can't believe Kevin Feige went with that decision. Like I said, I'll never forgive those guys for that. I'll never forgive them. And
it sounded noble, but no. You know what I'm saying?
No,
you didn't have to do that.
It didn't even sound, to me, it didn't sound noble. You know what it sounded like? I'm going to tell you this, and I could be wrong as two left shoes, but this is how it's played out, so maybe I'm not wrong. It sounds to me like Kevin Feige, who basically represents that brand and the decisions that are meted out and everything, it sounded like he didn't want to live up to the responsibility of having to hold himself, the company, the studios accountable for that character. Because the first movie blew people away.
Yeah, it did.
It blew people away. But the representation was there. It was proper. But don't forget, Stan Lee was still alive.
Yeah.
The decision not to bring him back as a character on film and to kill him off happened after Stan Lee passed away. And in order to have that character, because if you look and read the stories of him in the comics and what he meant to the Marvel 616 universe in the comics, that first film and the storytelling of his character, you would have had to maintain a certain level of dignity, which kind of puts him above Tony Stark. It puts him above Reed Richards. It puts him above so many of the other characters out of the universe. Kevin Feige might not want it to do that.
Yeah, that's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
That's a strong
Well, just easy to say, oh, well, he died. Whew, we don't have to worry about that no more. You understand?
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. That's a possibility.
And the reason that makes me say that was so how adamant that he was about not recasting, not even looking at someone. It's like, really? But William Hurt passed away, and you bring in a guy that's even older than William Hurt in Harrison Ford to play General Ross.
And not for nothing, Harrison Ford is like in 80.
That's what I say. He's even older than William Hurt.
And I'm not trying to be morbid. You got 80 years old, and he has all his marbles, but not to sound like a jerk, but he can go in the middle of fucking filming. He's 80, man. I was shocked when they did that. But recast him, recast Rhodey. You don't recast Black Panther. I mean, salute to Chadwick Boseman. We love him, we miss him, but this was an easy fix. You didn't even have to do my analogy with my idea with the universes and shit. You didn't have to go that far. That was just an idea. Just bring in the other actor, man. Just do it. Y'all been doing it. But again, the woke situation by making Shuri, the only thing I can appreciate is that when I saw the sequel, one thing I will say, she didn't want the mantle of Black Panther. She was ready to let it just die. She was like, yo, come on, we don't need this thing. You know, give it to M'Baku. He didn't want it. So nobody wanted it. She didn't want it until she realized how much the mantle meant to the people. That's when she took it. But she still don't want it. She was a Black Panther for a little while in the comic book, but eventually it went to T'Challa.
Do you know each of the Marvel films leading up to Phase 4, I had seen in the theater at least twice.
Mhm.
None of the Phase 4 films have I seen twice in the theater. And when I got them on physical media copy, I haven't been able to bring myself to watch them. I think I might have watched Black Widow once after I got the Blu-ray, and I think I might have watched the Eternals once because I wanted to see how that looked on television, the high def and all of that. But I didn't watch the Phase 4 films more than once like that. And I haven't seen the second Black Panther film since I saw it in the theater. Even though I have it on Blu-ray, I haven't even opened it up to watch it. Haven't even opened it up to watch it. The damn film is still sealed. And that says a lot about me because these films, you know, I told you I enjoyed them,
Right.
you know, but now I realize how these studios are treating us and, you know, the directions that they're heading.
Well, let me ask you, what could they do right now? Because not everything is in production 100%. These are just ideas that we're hearing, but what could they do right now to salvage everything that they got? What could they do right now?
I don't think there's anything they can do. I think that they have really, I think they really messed up, man. And the way that they've messed up, it's like they've lit so many fuses that there's like little fires here, little fires there, and it's getting ready to become a blaze. It's gonna burn down because the arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, forgive me with my crazy analogies, but back in '85, the Bears won the Super Bowl.
I remember that.
In '84, the defense was better, but they lost to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. In '86, Jim McMahon was hurt, and the New York Giants, I think, won the Super Bowl in '86. But there was a stretch about 4 seasons that they should have got at least 2 Super Bowls out of what they were doing at that time. And it was Mike Ditka's ego that kept the team from prospering, because when they won that first Super Bowl, he was such a celebrated coach. Oh, you came after all these years and you took us to the promised land and everything. He opened restaurants. He had car dealerships. He was doing TV commercials. He was everywhere. Mike Ditka. On the Saturday Night Live, they used to have those guys on there. The Bears. Remember those guys?
The Bears.
Yeah. The Ditka clones. And it just, he got so full of himself that his coaching acumen went down, 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 season after season. And the talent began to go down too, because there was people in positions of authority to make decisions, and it's like it got blown up. One of the guys that was a head person in the personnel went to Green Bay, and when he went to Green Bay, boom, Green Bay took off, and that's when they got Brett Favre and all that, and it was like, but you see what I'm saying? It's like Dick, and when they finally fired him, it was like you were so damn glad to see him go, but it was like you look back and say, man, what could have been? You got too arrogant. You couldn't tell him nothing. And I think Kevin Feige and Marvel have fallen into that. And it's like there's no coming back from that. Usually that has to be deleted, erased, and you just do something different or whatever. There's no
Yeah.
starting over and all of
Yeah.
that, because it's like you had your run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like you had some golden years, and now it's old. It's old now. And it's like, because there's something else now that people are going to their attention. And see, they could have kept the people's attention had they continued to do things a certain kind of way, but they didn't. The shock value, the driving people away. And you know, do you like to be like a yo-yo, flung out and then snap back? It's like, no. It's like you push me out, I'm gone. I'm going down the street, and I'm gonna find me someplace else to go. And that's where DC really messed up, because had they stuck with Snyder and what he was trying to do, they would have surpassed Marvel at this time, because it's a critical time. But they kept blowing things up, and they really messed it up, because Snyder had a 5-film
Plan.
project that he
Yeah.
was looking at doing. And, you know, the whole thing with Cavill, and can you imagine how they played that man? They had him come back, tell the people he was back and everything, film those cameos for the Black Adam
Black
film,
Adam.
for the Aquaman film, and for the Flash film. He had filmed cameos for all 3 of those films. He was going to be in all of them. And they took him out. They took him
For
out.
what? For what?
James Gunn coming in. And the new guy that James Gunn is going to have as Superman looks just like Henry Cavill. But he's only like he's like maybe 8 years, 9 years younger than Henry Cavill, who's only 40 years old. So it's like you go and get this other guy. He's a couple of inches taller, skinny as a rail, so he's got to put on weight and muscle.
Put on weight and everything.
Just had Henry Cavill. What are you going out there and getting this new guy for? Seriously.
Who is this guy?
Somebody in the chat can possibly pull his name up. But he's a guy that's been on some TV shows and stuff. He's a young kid, but he looks like Henry Cavill.
I hate they putting us through this. These are the motions. And salute Young Hollywood. He said they should have just, you know, brought back Killmonger if they were going to do anything crazy. I mean, look, it's weird how
no. See, even in that's not being creative. Michael B. Jordan played a good character when he played Killmonger, but Killmonger didn't need to come back as the new Black Panther or anything like that. He was good for what he served. But see, when you start thinking like that, that's where the creative process it shuts itself down. It's just like when people say like Michael Jai White should have played Black Panther. No, Michael Jai White is not that great of an actor. He's a hell of a martial artist. Now, if somebody want to go out there and make some damn martial art movies, Michael Jai White is your guy. But he might try to act like, well, I think I want to let my acting speak. Well, then you're going to be sitting on the sidelines. Because, dude, I don't want to see you when I could see a real good actor playing a certain role. That's just like Mahershala Ali being cast as Blade. He kind of channels that look like Wesley a little bit, but he's a damn good actor. That's why I can't get mad at that selection. I'm just mad at that they hadn't gotten it done by now. It's 6 years later and they didn't do it. But you have to have a mind to see through the creative process and go with something.
Would
It's
it have been better?
lazy.
Would it have been better than what we got now?
Would what have been better?
If let's just say if they brought back Killmonger, let's just say, and let's just say that's the direction that they went for let's say a third film.
But if
Wouldn't
you're
would
looking at that, aren't you seeing Killmonger? You're not seeing the Black Panther. You're not seeing
it,
T'Challa.
yeah, it don't help matters, but
No,
with the direction that Marvel is going now, will it add to the train wreck that it is, or will
of
it
course it would.
would it make it? I can't even use the word better.
Remember what I said a moment ago. Remember what I said a moment ago, and I don't think enough people are looking at it. When Stan Lee passed, it's no coincidence that all of this other stuff started happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because although Stan Lee, you know, he would have to sign off on some things being done. And they tried to stay true to the game for as long as he was around. And when he passed away, somebody was like, he gone.
Now we can do what we want.
Yeah, here we go. And see, if Kevin Feige was a part of that process, because I'm not 100% certain he was, and I'm not trying to accuse, but if he was, then he should have left before Stan left.
You think there's too many chefs in the kitchen?
No.
You think it's one of those things?
No, because he's had his hand on. This is why, like, if you want to blame somebody, blaming writers and this and that, you hired them. You put them in these positions. It's just like that woman that was a huge part of their productions and stuff, that they ended up getting rid of her. And she, you know, was saying some stuff, you know, she was a huge part of some of this direction that things were headed, you know, going in the way that they've gone. He put her there. It's like, dude, come on. Now, one way to do these things maybe would be to have somebody for short term. You know, we're gonna work together for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And we'll go for there. You know, and 3 or 4 years give you a chance to put out a couple of projects. But, you know, and you know, look at the Eternals. You know, the Eternals, when I saw the brother in there and what they did with him and everything, I'm like, come on, man. Did we have to see that? Did we have to see that it's again like
everybody's trying to make their own
Chavez, what's her name? With the two parents and
with her two moms, and
two
we didn't even
moms,
know
and
that.
then this you had two dads. I mean, come on, man.
I mean, yo,
I
it's
thought
like
one of the coolest things that they did was the young sister from Chicago that they hired in there. She was the one that was really fast.
Yeah.
You know, she's deaf in real life. So
Oh
she
yeah.
She has a hearing impediment, and I thought that was cool that they still allowed her to be in the film and everything. I was like, now that's the kind of movement forward that you want to see. That someone who has that type of disability, you know, I don't like to say it like that, but that's what it is. But to still be able to go out there and perform and represent, that's very positive to me. But this other stuff, man, we didn't need to see that stuff. And I feel like they just shoving it down our backs, man.
Everybody's hitting us in the face with their own political or personal agenda. And here's my stance on it, and I stand firm on it. It's like we're being shamed for being heterosexual and just being, and I'm going to say it, being normal. Man, woman, child. Woman, man, child. That's how it happens. And we're being shamed just for being us. And we're not saying, yo, we don't like you. We want you, you know, deleted and away from us. We're not saying that. We're saying you can live your life over there, man. You ain't got to wave that flag in my face 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Look, I know you get down like that. How about keep it out of our entertainment? Just because you're in a position of power, you don't have. I didn't need to see that. Yo, you know, in the beginning of the Doctor Strange movie, where she's jumping around with Doctor Strange from whatever universe he was from, the first thing I noticed on the jacket was that flag.
Yeah.
That was the first, and I
Let's
said,
not let's
yeah,
just
yeah,
let
oh,
that
yeah,
go.
yeah. And I'm
Let
like,
that
all
go.
I'm saying is, you don't have to shove all of that in our face, man. We understand. Leave it alone already. Get to the storylines. Get to the heroes. How they
That's like an
originated.
end game. That's like an end game. They had that moment where all the women, including what's her name? Tony
Shuri.
Stark's girl, Tony
Oh yeah,
Stark's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
woman.
yeah, yeah.
When they
Pepper Pot.
all band together and they had that scene where they all were together. Like I'm like, okay, what are you doing? And then, um, Scarlet Witch, she came in and she had this moment where she was getting ready to take Thanos out, and that's when he told his people in the ship to rain fire, and
Mhm.
then Captain Marvel came and took the ship out, and I'm like, okay, but we saw Thor get his butt whooped, we saw Hulk get his butt whooped. Steve was like on his last leg. I
Mhm.
mean, it's
And then you look
Iron
at it like
Man.
Scarlet Witch could have ended the damn thing on her own. That's the way they made it seem.
Iron Man could have done a few other things, but he,
Hulk ain't getting no rematch.
it's like there were so many things, you know, they just messed it up, man.
Young Hollywood said Disney hires directors that literally hate superheroes. It's true. That's what it seems like.
Listen, the first Avengers film, the first Avengers film, Joss Whedon dumbed down Thor so much in that
Oh.
film that people who love Thor, they noticed it right away.
Mhm.
I learned more about Thor after seeing these films because I would go back to the comics and look up certain stories and stuff. But now I can see. But allegedly, I'm not saying this is 100%, but allegedly, I heard that he's like a non-believer. So being a non-believer, quite naturally, gods with the little g, as Kurt Russell said in the Guardians film, um, it kind of go out of their way to take the luster off of some of them. And if that be really true, that's not cool because you're getting away from the source material. You
Yeah.
know, um, you had a good guy playing Thor, and you had a good guy playing Loki.
Yeah.
I don't see what the problem was with Kenneth Branagh being the director of those films. He was doing a great job. That first Thor film with those three men, Hemsworth, Hiddleston, and then you had my man that played Hannibal Lecter. What's his name? Odin.
Um, it'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah, great actors in those roles, but it requires a strong director. The first Thor film was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just that it wasn't. They cut the corners on it a little bit because I guess they didn't want to spend a lot of money. Notice that they didn't really show him flying and stuff like that. They'll show him take off or they'll show him land, but
Right.
you never saw him flying. Not
Right. Right.
until what was that? Ragnarok.
Right.
I think you saw him flying in that. But when you see those kind of things, that lets you know, they're cutting corners. Salute to the village brother out there in that super chat. He said it's like they want to keep smacking us in the face with the multicolor. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But dude, it's crazy.
Always an agenda, and the agenda is going to be the end of them. Always trying to push this there's a serious agenda there. Look, all right, already, we get it.
It's like when Bryan Singer made the X-Men film. He was adamant about not putting them in their costumes. You know, it was like people liked it because it was something new, but they would have loved it if he had stuck to the source material in their appearances and stuff like that. And it showed up with the next generation of actors and actresses who played in those films. Like by the time Jennifer, what's her name, came in to play Mystique, and Jennifer, what's her last name? From the Hunger Games. Yeah. By the time she came in, you know, Beast and all of them, they started making them more like the characters that was in the comics. But it's like, imagine had they done that from the beginning.
Did Magneto's helmet piss you off?
In the first films?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did. Yes. I was in the theater like this, like, come on, man. Why are they doing this to me? I took a lot of that stuff personal, man. I really did.
And Apocalypse really pissed me off too, because that was another character that they could have, you know, Apocalypse is supposed to be along the lines of Darkseid and Thanos. So it's like, why they have him walking around like, I don't know. And the damn actor that they had is a good actor. That brother that played him.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, come on.
He didn't capture. You already know, man. You already know. And it's crazy because you have so many sources. Right now, it's not like back in the days. I need y'all to remember, Ang Lee got hired to do a job in reference to a character he had no knowledge about, the Hulk. And I said, why the hell are they hiring Ang Lee to do this film? He don't know anything about the character. But nowadays,
you know, that's his claim to fame, Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. Brokeback Hulk. Yeah. There's no excuse. Ignorance is an excuse. You can literally not know something and get on YouTube and get educated in under an hour. Literally. Like right now, you've never watched Invincible. We're gonna do a show on Invincible. You can literally go to Comics Explained and just spend the 3 hours. He'll tell you the whole story, and you'll be just like that. And the series, part 2 of the series that's coming on Prime, they're following the book pretty much. They're pretty much following the comic book. But you can get caught up. There's no excuse for these directors saying, okay, I'll take the job, but I don't know anything about this character. Great. Go to YouTube, put in the character's name, and get educated. There's no excuse not to be educated. It's just that they don't care. They don't care. And they want to cater to the people that have no knowledge of the character, and they just want to make it friendly for everybody. But I still think that you lose the people that grew up and who are actually super fans of these stories that predates a lot of these people's birth. It's disrespectful. You wouldn't ask a director who's notorious for directing classic Western old school films to do a sci-fi movie. He's gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, let's get some final thoughts in, man, on tonight's show. We kind of talked about some stuff. They really need to put the woke stuff to the side. They really do. So
yeah, woke is destroying everything from movies to lingerie from Victoria's Secrets. This woke thing, and it goes from everything from those people to overweight people, and you can't force feed us stuff that we're not, have no interest in. And the proof is in what? The revenue. It's not selling. The proof is in the revenue. So you have to do what's in the best interest of y'all pockets, and don't blame us for not liking what you're forcing down our throats. Pause. All right. I'm the consumer. You're going to respect me. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. And we'll be back with another Nerds show tonight. We just wanted to kind of freestyle it and talk about some things. And as I've said before in the past, once we get to talking on these subjects, it's like we can just flow because there's so much. But hopefully we can see our way through this process. If it doesn't get better, at least we have what the first 3 phases for Marvel, the first 3 films by Zack Snyder. I'll hold those close to the vest because I don't think anything else outside of that is going to do too well. And I think that Aquaman, the first one, Wonder Woman, the first one, all of those are solid DC films. And it's a shame that those directors and creators weren't able to complete their processes on those. But those are my thoughts. I want to say thanks to everybody that came out. Those of you that sent a couple of super chats out there, those that participated and hit the like button. Hey, we'll be back with another Nerds. I guess you guys can take your energies on over to Pep Talk because Drew is going to be jumping in with that in just a few minutes, coming up in about 5 minutes. So peace to everybody. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.